Are you a business owner looking for real advice and input? You're in the right place. From concept to launch to growth, funding, and beyond. Welcome to Startup Hustle with your hosts. One once sold a business for $150 million. The other, the author of $1 Million Bedroom. Here are your hosts of Startup Hustle, Matt DeCoursey and Matt Watson.
1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 1. 'Cause no one can do it like we do it, like we do it, like we do it.
And we're back. Another episode of Startup Hustle. Matt DeCoursey here with Matt Watson. Hello, Matt.
What's going on, man?
Oh, I'm just, I'm feeling like I've got a lot of ailments and things.
Like old man problems?
Yeah, I've had that for a while. And I'm looking for some different ways to address it. And there's some stuff out there called CBD.
Really?
Yeah.
My
yeah.
dad uses that too. I mean, he's a little older.
He does?
Yeah. And he rubs it all over himself.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And if we could not talk about David rubbing things all over himself, and David, if you're listening, I think you get it. Yeah. But, it's amazing how the issues that we're faced with seem to always correlate with the guests that we have here in the Startup
Very
Hustle
timely.
studio. It's almost as if it was planned. Now, before I do an introduction, I should probably say that today's episode of Startup Hustle is brought to you by Fullscale.io, where we will help you build a software development team quickly and affordably, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Also, this will be on the Startup Hustle YouTube channel if you want to see.
And on TikTok?
I don't, maybe
No?
for about 20 seconds.
Okay.
Yeah. If you want to see how bad Watson needs a haircut.
Oh, come on.
Well, with us today, we've got Heather and Kyle Steppe, who are the owners of the KC Hemp Company. And I love it when you're interactive, so grab your phone or a browser and go to kchempco.com. Heather and Kyle, what's up?
Hi,
Hello. Thanks for having us.
Thanks for coming in. It's amazing that your timeliness when it comes to manufacturing CBD products and all of the old man problems that I've got. So,
Yeah,
Worked out well, right?
Yeah. So enough of us talking. Why don't you guys give us a little background on what you're up to and what people are going to find when they go to kchempco.com.
Yeah. So we started this company about 1.5 years ago, right when CBD was kind of coming on the scene. Nobody really knew what it was. They had seen it places, things of that nature. And one thing we learned really quickly was there's a lot of absolute shit CBD products out there. I mean, things that don't even have CBD in them but are being labeled as CBD.
Kind of like olive oil.
It literally. We went to
And that's a big thing people don't realize. A lot of olive oil isn't really olive oil.
Right. Honey. Same thing with honey.
Yeah.
It's weird. But one thing, I mean, it didn't take us long for us to figure that out. So that was when, as a company, we started with retail. We just wanted to sell products, and we quickly realized there is a market for high quality, organic, true to the nature CBD products to actually help people. So we started manufacturing roughly 9 months ago, and since then it's just been kind of taken off.
So if I go to some crappy little convenience store in the middle of nowhere and they sell CBD oil, is that stuff, odds are, like made overseas somewhere, or does it have to be made here?
No, it does. There's no regulation surrounding the product, which is part of the
no
issue.
idea where it comes from.
You have no idea, and it might not even be CBD.
Comes from weed, bro.
Maybe.
But does it have to be? But like legally, does it have to be made like in the state or any of that?
No.
It can come from anywhere.
It can come literally from
so
anywhere.
it could be made in China and
Yes.
be like.
Yeah. And there's quite a bit that is actually made in China.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then sent over here, and that was one thing we saw. It was just like there's a bunch of crap product, and we went to a hemp convention in Colorado for industry professionals, and there was a company there selling olive oil as CBD. And just giving people samples like, here, try my product. This is so good. It's going to cure everything.
Yeah. It kind of backfired on them when they handed a free bottle to someone who had a former DEA agent that was a chemist on his team. And so he gave, this guy this bottle and said, hey, tell me what's in this. And he went and ran it in his lab, and turns out it was olive oil.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
So not only is there deception amongst the public, it's within the industry too. So we're trying to really take that back.
Well, and this is an example where maybe the industry needs a little more regulation.
Absolutely.
It is, yeah. So the FDA claims that they will have their regulations in place by the end of the year, the 1st of January. So we're all kind of anticipating that and waiting to see what those regulations look like. But it's definitely going to be a welcome change for a lot of us in the
But-
industry.
But then that creates a lot of problems for you then, right? Like you have to then get your product like tested and sampled, or
So-
how does that work?
We already do that. We
Yeah.
self-regulate because we wanted to be able to make sure that people knew we were providing a quality product. So we went ahead and regulated ourselves. We only get USDA certified organic hemp distillate from Colorado. So there's no herbicides, pesticides, anything added to it. And then when we actually manufacture it, we have it sent out for third-party lab testing. So we get everything tested that's in it, come back. You can tell if there's any mold, any fungus. You can tell exactly how much CBD is in it. You can tell that there is no THC because we only manufacture THC products, THC-free products. So we've already been doing that. So we're ready.
That's
Bring
great.
on
I think,
regulation.
but I think that's good. And, regulation can sometimes be prohibitive of startups or business in
Yeah.
general. But in the end, like, it exists for reasons that are supposed to be, on par. Now, but regulations also on some levels has weighted down the cannabis industry. Like some of the states that it's just, like you look at Oregon or some of these places that have created a surplus of product, and it's like very well documented. Like Oregon has literally grown like 3 times the amount of weed that the state will consume. It's stuck in Oregon because they
You're
can't
right,
take
yeah.
it out of line. But the reason is a lot of it has become price prohibitive because the cost per pound or something like that due to the regulation and all the stuff they have to deal with. It's a little heavy-handed and sometimes, but I think that's also just a sign of an early stage anything. Like
Right,
they'll
right.
eventually capitalism and open market economy does usually figure these
Well,
things
I
out.
think with the products that you smoke, it's probably a lot harder to get a counterfeit product. Maybe
you know it pretty quickly.
May know pretty quickly. But with the consumable stuff, you don't know, right? And so yeah, all this regulation will weigh you guys down a little bit and create some bureaucracy and whatever. But all in all, I think it helps the industry because let's say
Yeah.
somebody like me who does not use this, I use it once. I buy it at the weird ass convenience store in Pleasant Hill, Missouri, and I buy some dog biscuits for my dog or whatever. And I end up getting olive oil and a shitty experience, and I don't buy it again.
I don't
Yeah.
think you'd
Right?
notice. I don't think you'd notice it as much though, unless you were like, well,
I
maybe.
rub it all over myself, and nothing happens.
Right.
Right?
Feel the same you felt.
So-
But if I got the real stuff
By
and
the way,
it worked,
by the way, make sure at around the 7th minute, if you're interested in seeing YouTube, you should go there and see the look on my face with Watson's
But you see
second
my-
"rub it all over me" comment.
but you see my point. Like if I have a bad experience with it because
Absolutely.
I had an inferior product, then I'm not going to do it again.
Yeah,
I'm not
that
gonna
is
do
a
Right.
problem that we see within our customers as well. People are like, "Oh, I've tried it; it didn't work. I'm not going to do it again." And it's unfortunate because there is
But
a
it
lot of
doesn't
good
just
product
work
out there.
instantly, does it? Like, isn't
Everybody is so different.
Yeah,
'cause
Everybody is so
and
different.
I'm not super informed in that regard, but a lot of the things that people are trying to treat with CBD, it takes a little time. It's like almost like
Yeah.
taking herbal supplements. Like, sure, something might do something quickly, but a lot of the time it's like you look at like people that take milk thistle. Milk thistle provides some well-known qualities that improve your liver function.
Right.
But you don't like take it and like tomorrow you're like, man, my liver is fucking awesome today.
Right,
Rocket.
At least not mine.
Really processing things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
But by the way, you mentioned something about like counterfeit product. The thing that I think is crazy with hemp, and I was talking about this with on another episode, is you look at this stuff and like from a picture, you're like, dude, that's looking like some pretty sticky weed there, and then there's 0 THC in it,
Yeah.
like
Right,
literally
yeah,
like
'cause it's-
none.
Oh yeah.
because it's
And
Smells
so
the
so
same.
on some levels, like it looks the same, right?
Oh, looks, smells the same. I mean, it's got a high terpene profile depending on what strain you're using, and the terpenes are what really give it that flavor and the scent and smell. And
And then it just doesn't work when you smoke
so
it.
does that make it really hard for law enforcement who
It does.
catches somebody
I would
with
think
what
that
looks
would be
like
tough.
marijuana, but it's
Like
not
2 days
marijuana?
ago, they
It's-
just took a shipment from Vermont or Massachusetts or somewhere.
it was up in New
northeast.
York. Yeah, no, up in New York, and it was.
And it
I
was
can't
like all
remember.
these cops posing with this hemp, and they're like, "Look what we've done! We've taken it off the streets."
You'd be
And
like,
Yeah.
it's
suckers.
What's wrong with you?
Well, and the crazy thing is, they even had on the truck, they had all the paperwork that showed that it was legitimate. What it was, and they still took it. And then the cops had this shit-eating grin.
well,
on their
because
face.
hemp can go across state lines, but marijuana cannot.
Correct.
Correct. Which is what with the
With
farm bill.
paperwork, right?
Yes, it has to
Yeah,
have
yeah.
paperwork. But still, there was an issue in Kansas where these two farmers had a bunch of hemp in the back of their semi, and they were getting charged with like all these, crossing the borders with marijuana
Yeah.
and drugs crimes in Kansas. I
When-
mean, there's just a level of complete disconnect when it comes to law enforcement and just the general public on what the difference between hemp and marijuana is and how to differentiate.
But by the way, part of the problem is the people 5 years ago, and then still in many cases, in many states, more than not, the people that have to say, okay, you're cool, were the people that would kick down your door
Right.
over it, like maybe even months earlier. Like
Right.
Missouri's getting ready to go through this. And by the way, the interesting piece of legislation passed just with this last electoral cycle, where literally where Congress has voted that they will not fuck with the states that have legalized medical,
Right.
like, because it's technically illegal on a federal level. Like,
Right.
if the
Right.
if the government literally wanted to, they could just go in and be like, well, we trump you.
Yeah, the DEA could come in.
Yeah,
Literally.
no Trump pun intended there.
Yeah,
but
so
but
good.
federal does trump state,
Right.
state trumps local, blah blah blah. So, but I think that's important though, because that was the stepping stone in doing things like making banking regulations and other things possible to businesses like yours, where 5 years ago that wasn't.
Yeah, and
6
those
months
still
ago.
have
Yeah.
those still have a long way to go. I mean, there's still issues with bank. Actually, we were talking with Jay and Danielle over at Hemp Haven, and they recently had their bank,
Shut them down.
shut them down.
Yeah.
This
So-
week. I mean,
and
we
that was
went
just
through
last
that
week. Yeah.
when we first started our business too. And then trying to get credit card processing was an absolute joke. I mean, so there
Yeah.
is still so many things.
You guys still
within
struggle
that.
with that now?
We have a solution.
Yeah, we just pay more, and we pay more in percentage.
Mm-hmm.
and
But
we
yeah.
just
Dude,
take
it's
more out of our
because
pocket,
it's
but-
because banking regulation federally, they things like FDIC and stuff like that,
Yeah.
they legally can't do anything related to federally illegal businesses. It's also why publicly traded companies in the United States can't own any part of cannabis businesses.
Right.
And
Yeah.
so some of those companies have they've now opened a Canadian
Yeah,
branch or
that's
whatever.
exactly what
Yeah.
a lot of them
Mhm.
are
I'm
doing.
just
They're going
happy
through
that
Canada.
that Canada has finally become truly useful.
Hey, they are thriving in the cannabis market.
Yes,
They really are.
They really, really are.
So as a CBD startup, let's outline a few things, because that is our topic today. So of the things that have been the biggest obstacles to climb over, obviously there's pretenders.
Yeah.
People selling the counterfeit stuff. You have banking issues, lack of understanding by legal and law enforcement.
yeah.
I mean,
Yeah. And the
what
consumer themselves too.
in what regard?
Just the knowledge of and information of what CBD and cannabis is and is not.
I mean, that's been my perspective with it when I first learned about it, is it seemed like snake oil.
Right.
But but it's interesting, and I'm not like I've partaken in plenty of THC related activities. There you go. You did not hear that first here. I'm not like, I mean, it is.
Did
what
you
it is.
inhale?
Fuck yeah, I did. Like a lot, and I held it, and then like blue rings and a lot of other dude, and a lot of stuff that I wouldn't ever want to talk about on a podcast that's heard in 190
Okay.
countries. Dude, I just wrote a book with a dude that's in a jam band.
I was gonna
I've
say, you
smoked
might have been
weed.
at
I was
Umphrey's
gonna
McGee
say, yeah, I
concert
know,
a few
really.
times.
Like, So, but that said, the CBD is completely different, and some of the things, like for example, my mom has dementia. There are actually like clinical tests that show that the things in CBD. So when you have dementia, you form this. It's basically like plaque in between.
Yep.
Your neurons, your uptake is not occurring back and forth due to this little sticky goo that forms. And CBD is actually one of the things that has showing scientific promise for breaking down that type of stuff. So like, it's definitely not snake oil, but at the same time, and I mentioned before we recorded, I joke because people will be like, yeah, my ears are ringing. Did you rub some CBD in it?
Yeah.
Because it's not going to cure everything, people.
No.
But there
No.
are some things that are useful for it. But I hate thinking about someone taking olive oil thinking that they're going to actually create some good. So
Right.
what are some of the very well known and possibly even scientifically proven things that CBD has shown
Yeah.
good stuff for with patients?
Sure,
And by the
so-
way, we're not giving you medical opinions here. No one's
No.
here. No
Right,
one here
yeah.
is a doctor.
Not at all.
None of this has
We're
been
not
evaluated
certifying
by
or
the FDA.
saying any of it. We're talking. We heard that people may There you go. That's
Yes,
enough of a
but,
disclaimer.
Can
you know,
help with.
You're a doctor,
depression
aren't
and
you?
anxiety. I would say depression and anxiety are two of the big things that are most commonly being used for, and then just the chronic pain of arthritis.
Inflammation related pain.
In our store, the average age of our customer that comes in is 55 plus, and they're all with arthritis pains, joint pains that they're just looking to get some
So
alleviation.
do they
for.
eat it or do they rub it on their joints? Or
So
what do
a little bit of both. So the topicals work really well for spot treating the arthritis pains, but then obviously the best way to take it is to get it within your bloodstream so that it's working on all of your different systems. And so that's using the oils or the edibles or whatever form. They've got it in coffee now and everything else that you could possibly think of.
So you guys are on the manufacturing side of this, right? So what all products do you manufacture?
So right now we manufacture our tinctures, which is the traditional CBD oil that you see in the little bottles with the dropper, and then we are bringing our gummies and our pain creams in house. We actually have those in R&D right now.
Your gummies and your what?
Our pain cream.
Cream. Okay.
Yes.
Yep.
So that would be the topical.
Okay.
But kind of back to what Kyle was saying, the really cool thing about CBD and the reason why it has that snake oil kind of charm to it or whatnot is the way that it works within the body. So your endocannabinoid system that actually interacts with CBD and THC, as well as any other cannabinoids that are found within the plant, actually creates a homeostasis or a balance within our body. So when we think of things like anxiety or depression or chronic inflammation, chronic pain, it usually has to do with an imbalance somewhere. Something is causing something not to work properly. So when you're using cannabis and cannabinoids and they interact with that endocannabinoid system, and then you have a highly functioning endocannabinoid system, your body can balance itself out. So that's why it can work for anxiety, depression, pain. It helps with, we have some autistic children who use it, and now their motor tics aren't quite as bad. So there's a wide range of things that it can work with, but the reason all comes down to how it interacts in the body.
Yep. IBS, Crohn's, problems with your stomach. We've seen some people that have been able to come off of 4 different medications that they've been taking just by using CBD and feel better than when they were taking these pharmaceutical drugs. And so, there's just kind of a paradigm shift too, where as a, society, we are so drawn to these drugs and these pharmaceuticals that aren't always necessarily good for us or, good for putting into our body, where something natural like CBD can help.
Well, and so we recorded an episode yesterday, and I don't know when we actually air these, the timing, but we were talking about opioids.
Yeah.
And we were talking about you get like a surgery and they'll give you up to like 30 days of it. But for a lot of people, after 2 weeks, you're addicted to it.
Yeah.
Right.
Right?
Right.
And so can something like this help, as an alternative? Like you don't need to take opioids. You can, use CBD or something else
Well,
to
that's
help.
some of that's why the medical,
Oh.
the actual like THC bearing products are like actually make it through.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, well, and then you have an entire pharmaceutical industry, right, that sees the potential behind THC, CBD, other cannabinoid-based products, and they're like, whoa, wait a minute. We can't make money off of this. Like, this is doing exactly the opposite of what we're giving you this pill for.
Right.
Well, and then some of them, because of the nature of their business and that they're publicly traded companies, can't even research it or do a lot of stuff.
And they've lifted
Yeah.
a lot of ban on that. There was
Yeah.
actually, like, I think 3 or 4 months ago, there was something that passed in Congress that lifted that ban. So now different universities and stuff can actually start researching it, which is great because we need that. I mean, we can sit here and tell you all day about the stories that we have coming in the store, but at the end of the day, having the proof behind the pudding is what is going to really catapult this industry and actually give this plant a chance to act as a holistic option for people.
I think we should research on Matt.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
Be a case study.
Which Matt?
Yeah. Oh, wait. Okay,
Sounds
so
like you've already done a lot of research.
We brought 2 extra tinctures with us today, so we'll give them
Yeah.
both to you. You can both be subjects.
there you go. I'm not opposed. I mean, I get it. I mean, I think that the reason I'm a big supporter of the whole thing. I think the idea that just the cannabis in general, it's such a waste of resource to make it illegal. Like
Absolutely.
we spend so much money locking people up. This is like we're talking about trying to create prohibition on a weed. That would be like dandelions are illegal.
Right.
And like it's not like, it's easier to take things like cocaine requires like a pretty intensive process to produce and stuff like that. And you can't grow the leaves in Kansas. Like, You could throw a bunch of seeds out in the field, and next spring you might be like, oh wow, that smells a lot like something
We
Yeah.
grow a lot of meth in
So-
Kansas City.
But that's the point. It's like on that kind of stuff that's different. But it's like
I think if you lived independent, like you get an instruction manual when you move in.
Yeah, it's part of the,
Yeah, I
their
think so,
HOA.
right,
How to
right.
make meth.
how to spot a meth house.
Yeah.
But with that, I think that what's interesting is the government and states are wising up. They're like, oh, so because I always say in regards to business, saving money is making money. So if you're not spending money, but the problem that they've created for themselves is we have a very, very large population of people that work in law enforcement and administration, and now all of a sudden, if they don't have work to do,
Right.
and it's a weird problem.
Which is really sad.
well,
Yeah.
I mean, but it is what it is. I
Right.
mean, our government is the biggest employer. that
Well,
we've got,
and
so-
your same point about the pharmaceutical company, right? If they make billions of dollars a year on different opiate drugs and stuff, they don't want something else to come in and
Absolutely.
Yeah,
trump
but
them, so.
dude, there's class action suits that
Yeah.
are coming out
Yeah,
now. Like
you-
I can't.
Yeah,
With some
and they're
state
working.
just
You see that one in Oklahoma? It was like 800 million or something
there
like
was
that.
one for
which-
8 billion.
or 8 billion. Yeah,
Something
Yeah.
huge.
Yeah.
Now
That's
that
amazing.
precedent's set. Like imagine
Yeah.
that going in all 50 states, and so all that money
Right.
they made from opioids, they're going to give back.
in any kind of law, laws that are changed, regulation. There's winners and losers.
Yeah.
On both sides, right? And
Yeah.
they both fight to win and lose. And
This one is just kind of it's just interesting.
this is a groundswell.
There's
they
things
can't-
that, like I mean, look at it. So I'm 44, and I grew up in the Nancy Reagan just say no, like war on drugs era. Like, I mean, how's that working out 35 years
Right.
later? Like,
Well, and
it's easier for kids in high school to get weed than it is to buy beer. And like so like that point of fighting it. And like my dad was a judge in Wyandotte County for a while, and he used to be really opposed to this kind of stuff. And at the end, he's just like, you know what? I just don't feel like ruining some kid's life because he got
Yeah.
caught with a
Yeah.
dime bag of weed.
Yep.
right.
And now he can't join the army or maybe get a scholarship or like do something
right.
because he made a bad decision when he was 16.
Yep.
And then also like the amount of money.
Whoa!
it
Did he
costs-
make a bad decision though?
I mean,
Or,
well,
or was he just told he made a bad decision?
well, I mean, but the thing is in the same way with business, and we've talked about business ethics or tax laws or stuff like that. There are rules that exist for the game
Right.
that we play, and they are what they are. Like, I mean, we can change the rules, but at any given time, that's tough, and that's what's going to come up. Is there's okay, so you look at like 1 year flipping over to another. There's some dude in jail in Colorado for like till like 2039 probably because he got caught with a truckload of weed.
Yeah.
And you could drive around with a truckload of weed in Colorado today and it'd be okay. So there's like there's an issue
Yep.
that,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and in some places they're going to start. They have forgiven some of
Yes.
those things
They
and
have.
sort of because they don't want it costs money to keep you in jail.
There's some
Absolutely.
federal bills out there right now too
Yeah.
that will decriminalize nationwide as well, and so we'll see if any of those come to fruition. I think Kamala Harris is she's doing one right now, or she's got her name on one that would basically decriminalize, and then on the flip side, give those people that have been in prison, whether it's people of color, women as well, that have always been kind of put down, give them first preference in line when it comes to these businesses too, and getting involved in the cannabis industry.
So it's November and we're in Kansas City. How does the laws change in Missouri coming up?
Did they already change?
No, well, so they've changed, but they can't go into effect until the beginning of the year. So people
I
who want
see.
to open a dispensary and things
But-
of that nature
but
have to
it-
wait.
You can get your
to
medical
their
card, you
license.
can get your license,
But it's technically not illegal, right?
it's technically not. You can
You
kind
could
of
get the card and be driving around with it and
You
be
can-
okay.
if
You
you
just
have
can't
a-
go buy it.
yeah.
Well,
if
that-
you have a card, you can get it by immaculate conception sort of way, But yeah.
No, I just saw something last week where somebody got in trouble for having medicine on them, and the judge was like, "Well, you can't buy it in our state yet, so it's still illegal." So I think there's a lot of up to interpretation gray area there when it comes to it. But like Kansas City decriminalized marijuana last year before. So I mean, if you get caught with a bag, it's $25. That's it. Same with Lawrence; it's like $1.
Yeah.
So those
That
those
was
bills
their
are important.
workaround in a lot of cases. They're like, sure, it's like getting a ticket.
Right.
And
It is.
Yeah,
it
and your
is
fine's
getting a
$25
ticket.
or $1. It's like a parking ticket. It
Exactly.
might be more expensive to get a parking ticket.
So how does the change in Missouri impact your business?
and,
I mean-
and CBD startups in general, like for people all over, like
I don't necessarily think it impacts our business too bad. I mean, we're talking about a different side of the cannabis industry, so more, THC-based medical marijuana type stuff. The benefit is now we can actually work with companies on the Missouri side to formulate different CBD and THC combined products where we're actually seeing the most benefit being gained anyways. So we can go and work with people over there and, do a 50% THC, 50% CBD tincture, and people can use that as part of their medicine.
So that'll be part of your 2020 strategy is.
Yeah, just a little bit more research that can actually, partnering, we would have to partner with a Missouri company to do so. We cannot do literally any of that in Kansas.
Okay.
But
Can't believe Kansas isn't progressive.
I know, what a shock.
But people use
eye roll moment.
but people use THC oil the same way.
They do. There's a couple different ways that you can use it, but what they're finding is that combo CBD and THC oil is really where most of the therapeutic benefit is actually coming from. So there's some cool things that can be done there.
Posing for pictures.
Photo op.
Yeah. You can find those pictures at Startup Hustle Podcast on Instagram and possibly at KC Hemp Co.
See, I always remember people talking about using marijuana for like glaucoma.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Blood thinner. It's a blood thinner.
Stuff like that. But
Yeah.
does CBD oil help with that too, or does it have to be
So
THC?
CBD can help. There are other cannabinoids as well, like CBG, I believe, which is specific to helping glaucoma, or it's more shown. And so, we talk about cannabinoids. CBD is the most, it's kind of the star. It's the one that we all talk about. But there's hundreds of other ones as well that, we need more studies on.
Yeah.
We need to
Back
find
to
out
the
more
research.
about them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So as a CBD startup, I'd like to talk about, as you guys are making a product, a CBD startup is, we're not talking retail here, but you mentioned a store. Do you guys have a spot?
we are retail
We do,
and
yeah.
manufacturer.
Okay,
Mhm.
okay. But as the focal point of your business going forward around making a product?
Yes.
Yeah, we're not opening a whole bunch of other stores.
Right.
There is an oversaturation of stores in Kansas.
Yeah,
City
well,
already.
and that's what I want to talk about. So with that, and you have supply chain and distribution things. You got to you make a product, you got to sell it somewhere. Either sell it yourself, sell it to someone else. You're dealing with a saturated market. So what's your plan for overcoming that? And how is that affecting everything? Because it tells me supply and demand is going to weigh heavily. Well, look at Oregon, California has the same problem.
You could say that what is going on in Kansas City on the CBD market is a very small scale of what's happening with cannabis in Oregon. Absolutely. You can't toss a rock and not hit a CBD store when you walk outside, which is another reason why we're really excited for the regulations, is to kind of, we think that'll weed out a lot of the bad players or the fly-by-night people who are just trying to make a dollar in a, booming industry. But, moving forward, we make sure that we partner with the right people. And the main thing that we focus on as a company is education. Not just education on cannabis and how it works within the body and why this is a good product for you, but education on why the product that we make is the superior product on the market. We use, again, USDA certified organic hemp out of Colorado in a distillate form. We use USDA certified organic products when we're making our actual bottle. So everything in there has been certified. It's been tested. Just keeping a pure product out there and continuing the education behind that is kind of how we see ourselves moving past and wading through all the bullshit, really.
Education's expensive and consumer awareness is expensive. And then also, it's just difficult to be everywhere all the time. So, do you have a specific plan for, all the stuff you just mentioned is great. But as a consumer walking in a store, and especially, here's the thing, is so many people are walking, there are people everywhere walking into a CBD store for the first time ever today. So with that, and by the way, I've never even been in a CBD store. I've been in a marijuana dispensary.
Yeah.
For a friend.
They're different.
Well, no, but I did that. It was in Colorado, and it's, I'm fascinated with it. It's just so weird, and great at the same time.
Right. Well, and even with dispensaries in Colorado, you can walk in one and one has a completely different feel than another one does.
Oh, sure.
One feels like, oh, this is a really high-end place. I don't know if I belong in here.
The
and
one
the other
I went,
feels
the
like,
one
oh,
I
this
went
feels a little
to
bit
was
better.
in an industrial park with my buddy.
Shady.
It wasn't.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't.
You're like 6 buildings
it
back
wasn't
to the right.
shady,
Go down some stairs.
but it wasn't. It didn't overwhelm me with presentation value.
Right.
But the same guy that I was there with was friends with the dude that owns, what is it, the green? I don't know. They're big, and they are massive.
Green
they have
Roads?
I can't. They're big. They're big out there. They have like a bunch of locations.
Yeah.
And he goes, well, if we go there, we'll have to wait in line.
Yeah.
But it's really, it's like you go in there, it's like all wood. It looks real nice. It's like a whole experience. When we went to, he's like, yeah, but we'll be in and out. I'm like, all
Right.
Yeah.
whatever.
I think it's interesting because some of them kind of really hide what they are and everything too, because there's still a stigma of like going there and being seen there. And buying
Not
stuff
so
there.
much in Colorado. I don't think.
You know,
There's like billboards everywhere.
Yeah.
and-
Right.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah, I
know
still
who I
think
was
there's a
recently
stigma
talking
to
to
it.
about this, but you know, the market in Colorado is no longer about medicine or education. It's tourism.
Yeah,
Most
sure.
of the
Yeah.
people there, it's tourism. So, you know, it's gone from being this, oh, we're medicine and this is going to help you and this is great, learn, to, okay, here's a dime bag. I'll take your money
Yeah,
now.
but-
Come get
Bye.
high in Colorado.
But let's be real.
Yeah.
Like, who are we really trying to fool here? I mean, like you know, your quote medicine. Like, and we've gone through this, and this is the thing. Is like, if you want, and this is where I have an issue with. This is the process that it has to go through. It's medical, and it's really kind of the state kind of getting their shit together and having to keep up with it. But I mean, if you want to smoke weed, just say you want to smoke weed.
Right.
Don't-
I mean,
I don't think you necessarily, like, if that's the reason you want it, don't be like, yeah, I'm doing it for my glaucoma. Okay, that's cool, but you also want to smoke weed. Let's be realistic.
Right.
Because, dude, it does. I mean, it literally it gets you high. Like, medicine theoretically is not supposed to give you a buzz. It's supposed to cure whatever, unless the medicine you need requires a buzz, and that is where some people use
true.
for anxiety and stuff
Yeah.
like that. I mean, I'm just being honest. Like, and I think that now CBD is a different approach. Like,
Right.
that is a medical attempt.
It's medical only.
Yeah,
It's,
but
it's
right.
all how you operationally define anything too, right?
Yeah,
And,
sure. I mean, I think you probably see my point. I'm like, I mean,
Yeah.
if you
Yeah.
want to smoke weed, just say you want to smoke weed. I'm
Right.
not like, you know, I mean, my knee hurts. I'm gonna go
Right.
grab a joint.
Yep.
Well,
I
mean,
just
people
want to
are
rub
smoking
stuff
weed
all over
anyways.
myself.
Hang on. I'm gonna-
We should have brought the
Penalty.
We brought the wrong
cream.
product. from, yeah.
We definitely brought the wrong product.
If you want to see Watson rubbing CBD oil all over himself, it will not be on any of our social media. You can contact him, however it is that you find him, and I don't want to see what happens. Fair?
That's fine. Yeah,
Okay,
that's fair.
so all right, so now you know, back to that, you know, that awareness thing and whatever we're talking about with the CBD stuff, and so we get a little off track sometimes, but
It happens.
you know, so how do you guarantee? What's your plan for a consumer? So I go in a store and everything's like, it's going to do this, it's going to do that. You got to kind of take these things at face value.
Right.
Like, how do you? I mean, okay, so you have USD organic. That's a thing.
That is the thing.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that's a good start. What are some other ways that build a little bit of consumer confidence?
I think our brand kind of does too. I mean, you know, we have a higher quality product, but when you come in, you also get direct interaction with the two of us who make the product. So when people have questions about it and want to know what's in it, like, we can break it down for them, which is really nice. And
That's
even-
not scalable though, unless
Right.
well, it can be. I mean, video and different kind. You can make yourself into the personality that goes around it.
You know,
but
we've thought about putting a YouTube channel together and doing all the educational videos and stuff like that. And so those are things that
you
we
could
have.
go on podcasts.
Yeah, you know, the podcast thing that seems to be working out all right for us. So. We've done a few of those. So
I mean, there's still so much that we don't have answers for. I mean, you know, we have the oversaturation issue in Kansas City. There's also a bunch of red tape that we're kind of crawling through too, and it's us and every other company out there right now kind of doing the same thing. We're all just waiting and literally just pushing through stuff and getting through things. It's a brand new industry, you know, so we're all kind of creating the footwork together, which is different and kind of fun, but different.
I mean, that's part of everything. I mean, we've gone through the same thing. I mean, at full scale, we build a brand, and
Yeah.
these things are expensive.
Right.
They take time. That's
Takes
another
time.
thing too. It's hard to build a brand
Absolutely.
right away.
So
Right.
you sell the product in your store, but is it also available in other?
we do. So
Mhm.
we distribute. We have a wholesale program. We distribute throughout Kansas City and beyond too. And
So what brand is that sold as?
Casey Hemp Co.
Okay.
Can you buy that at kchempco.com?
Yes, you
Indeed.
can. Yep.
Are you allowed to ship this anywhere now?
Yep.
Okay,
can
so
ship
you
it.
can
Anywhere.
ship it to.
So technically, there's still like 4 states that you're not supposed to. Like, I think Is it
Can
South
I-
Dakota? or
Ooh,
North-
I'm surprised. I was
yeah,
going to say
South
I
Dakota
was
has
going to
some
expect
weird
them to be
laws.
like Alabama, Mississippi.
Mississippi's one.
Okay.
Mississippi's one.
Wait,
So-
can we guess on the other ones?
Kansas, Oklahoma.
That wouldn't surprise me.
Right.
Utah.
I'm going to pick something
No.
weird like Delaware.
I don't know.
No,
what-
Delaware's
I think Delaware. I think they
Delaware.
even have medical on.
I think Delaware
Delaware.
actually exists for the sole purpose of skirting other types of laws, like why you open a corporation in
Yeah.
Delaware
Yeah.
when you have never even been to the state. Okay.
It's like Nevada, right?
So there are some don't ship to.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
very, very gray area.
That's
But
So it's legal federally, CBD is, but there are still, I think, 2 or 3 states, Mississippi, North Dakota, or South Dakota, one of the, I can't remember which Dakota, but
Matt, when you worked at the ticket as a ticket broker, and I did as well, did you guys? And I think you were in it way long ago compared to me, but there were a few states that had
It was
basically
New York, I think.
Well,
was
they had outlawed resale. So we
Yeah.
actually had some conversation as to far as like, should we ghost the whole state? But the thing that we came back to was they were making a transaction here
right.
because we charged it here. The invoice was from here, so we weren't actually making a transaction there, which would have on some levels, or it depends. All this stuff is up for interpretation.
Absolutely.
yeah.
It's not the result of the interpretation that is expensive. It's defending your position legally if
Right.
you get into that.
Yeah, and so one of the things about Kansas, where we are here, the farmers can grow it, but they can't sell the flower. So it
And-
has to go to process.
And
They
I
have
wanna
to
talk
process
about
it,
that, yeah.
and we can't sell any CBD flower in our store, mainly
So-
because there's still the full spectrum, or the 0.03% or 0.3%, excuse me, that we can't do, and so we still need changes to happen here. Within that, we have CBD, but we still don't fully have
So
access
is there a
to
slight
it.
amount of THC in that? Is that
Yeah.
You're not
Yeah.
allowed to sell it as smokable flower, and this is what I actually want to talk about, and I'm not going to name people here, but one of my good friends from high school owned a CBD shop in Lawrence, Kansas, and the DEA raided him and shut him
Yeah.
down. And
Yeah.
they are literally looking at going to jail.
Yeah.
Because they had it in there as quote smokable flower, which was apparently they were talking kick the door down,
Yeah.
storming the building kind
Huh.
of shit.
We get the KBI in our store all the time asking us, and they are not slick.
They are
just
not.
So you know, they
They're
are
not at
not
all.
slick. I know when you're holding your phone this close to your face and you're pointing your camera at me when you're talking to me, isn't there a class you guys took
Yeah,
on
and the only
being
thing
secretive?
you take 2 steps in and you're like, "Where's your flower at?" "I'm sorry, sir, we don't have flower here."
Yeah.
You used to not be able to go in and ask for a bong.
When you say flower,
Yeah,
For
a
the same
water
reason,
pipe.
yeah.
when you say flower, are you talking about
The buds.
the buds?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
not
What
white
looks
powdery
like-
stuff.
No,
Right.
no, yeah.
The buds
the
that look like the
smokable
weed.
flower, yeah, it does. And
But I thought you could buy that.
Not in Kansas.
Not in
not
Kansas.
not like that.
On the Missouri side, you
It's
can.
not illegal, but you
Okay.
can't sell it hey, smoke it up.
Right.
And it's back to that whole thing. It looks just like the real thing.
does.
Right.
It's just missing a chemical in it.
Down at Hemp Haven, they have a dab bar where you can
Yeah.
go and dab CBD. It's just what you
Like
would
with
do.
bread? You
Right.
eat it, or what?
Dip.
Matt,
no,
when
a
we
full-blown.
I'm gonna have to.
Or do you dab it and then rub it on
Matt, I'm
yourself?
saving all of
Yeah.
this for the time when I do take you to go to see Humphreys McGee,
Okay.
and I'm hoping you don't freak the fuck out.
And we're gonna-
afterwards, so
Are we talking about the dab dance now?
you're gonna learn it all. About
Okay.
If you want to, you're free to express yourself within that crowd with very little judgment, and on some nights a
And
lot of
there will
judgment.
be people there that will do all of it.
Judgment?
Yeah. Well, no, the dab. The
Probably, and honestly, probably a hell of a lot more.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
of it. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll keep you in a contained VIP area that will feel somewhat safe. Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
that's fair, right?
I'll let my freak flag fly, and we'll just.
You
yeah.
don't even need to there, man. You don't even need to fly.
Okay.
So that's a good thing. So all right. So I told you I have some interesting experience with this. By the way, a lot of it came in my experience with Oregon and some other stuff. It was over the last few years. I got offered free ownership in businesses. I still don't want to say free. I got offered ownership in businesses for participating as an advisor, and one of which was appeared on the surface to be quite lucrative, which was a decent percentage ownership in a cultivation operation in Oregon. And that's why I understand so much about it. I literally I turned it down. And this was something that was projecting to produce millions of dollars in revenue. But I started looking at it, and there's one thing you can't overcome in business and commerce, and that's supply and demand. I could literally see that there was a problem, and I begged my friend not to do it. He ended up not doing it, but I was like, dude, this is going to fail. And he's like, what do you mean? This seems like a laydown. But one of the red flags was the guy that was literally selling the farm was like, yeah, and it comes with like 125 pounds of, and that was a red flag for me. I was like, okay, if this was really a robust market, he wouldn't be able to. He wouldn't be like, yeah, and
give it away.
And the ranch comes with a pickup.
But if you
truck.
grow too much corn or soybeans or wheat, you can sell it to China or Brazil. Or
but the thing
right?
is you
can't do that.
You can't take it out of the state.
Yeah,
you're
so
in. So it's
you
trapped.
Can't export
in,
it. You can't.
But that's also created a whole nother level of black market activity
Absolutely.
because these people are stuck with it, and they're like, you know what, man, I got to pay my fucking bills. So they load it up, and they drive it to places like here, where it's worth a lot more.
That's exactly. What
And
they
there's
do.
actually a market for it. So yeah, and it was really interesting. But that same issue's coming up. I've had people that have approached me wanting advice on opening a dispensary. And the first question I ask them is, would you want to own a liquor store? And they're like, no, not really. I'm like, then pick something else, because it's gonna be the same thing everywhere soon enough. Which is you're gonna walk in just like you do in Colorado, dude. When I went to the dispensary, I walked in. There was a guy at the door that checked my ID. I mean, the same way you get carded at a liquor store. And I went in and we bought like $50 worth of weed or whatever, and then we left.
Yeah, and I don't, how does that work when you walk in and there's 300 flavors to pick from?
Dude, it wasn't really like that. There was like, there were some, but it was just like going into.
It's like picking a different kind of beer.
Yeah, and I don't get caught up into that. Some people are like, they've got all these really fancy, interesting, fun names, and like, and basically in the end, the guy was trying to tell me all this. So I was like, and weed will wake you up or it'll put you to sleep.
Yeah.
And they
Pick
literally,
which one.
it's basically like, what do you want to do?
Yeah.
And I was like, let's go with both. And then my friend tested the theory, and I'm kidding. No, we smoked the shit out of that weed, dude. And it's okay. But I mean, but that was part of the whole thing. And that was, so that was basically the whole experience. And, you looked at it and said, hey, here it is, take a look. Now, some people fall in love with that stuff, but just because you've fallen in love with weed doesn't mean that opening a dispensary is the right move for your future. So
well, and it's such a new thing that everybody's wanted to do secretly their whole lives.
Sure.
So now they can, and it's like, and
right.
so.
But there's a lot. But
it.
there's a lot more to it, because the thing is these places pop up, and by the way, the states that have the issues are the ones that haven't put any cap on production.
Right.
And then with Oregon, so like when Colorado legalized it, you had to have already been in the state for a while, or you couldn't get a license. So so people that had already lived there were finding themselves in ownership positions because people wanted to come out of state and be in there. But Oregon attracted a bunch of people to their economy by saying, hey, we're not going to put that on there at all. And then they didn't limit
Michigan
the growth.
just did that, right?
Yeah, I believe so.
Where you could come in from out of state.
Seems like Missouri limited the number of acres that could be planted.
They did. And I think, do not quote me on this, but I'm pretty sure that in order to get a license, at least 51% of the company had to be owned by a Missouri resident.
Possibly, I don't know.
So I'm pretty sure that's how they kind of worked around that, so that the big companies couldn't come in and just
that's what's
take over.
And by the way, I believe that when it's going to be interesting for businesses like yours, and anyone that's built a brand or a product, especially something that has an existing supply chain, is when they lift the federal veil on this. All these, dude. You want to talk about money pouring in? It's going to look like a dam broke, or like they release it or something, because these companies are sitting on the sidelines. You look at like RJ Reynolds and like all these companies, like all the way down to like
reminds me of vaping. It's like now vaping, there's like several brands that have kind of taken over,
and then didn't.
And
Because
then
now
eventually
Juul's got like a
Juul's
massive
about
problem.
they're about
And
kinda
by
reminds me of what happened
by
with
the
vaping.
way, it's really funny that like 15 people died with vaping-related illnesses, but probably like 1,000 people are going to die today from having smoked.
It's
Oh
about
my
13.
God.
It's about 1,300 a day.
A
That
day.
die from
So, but
cigarette
it's
smoke.
crazy.
Nobody's
So,
up in arms about that still. That's still small little.
But the point
disclaimer.
is these are big companies that have an interest. Like, dude, Marlboro's had the patent and like the trademark on Marlboro Greens for like 65 years. Like they've just been sitting there waiting. So But much like big companies acquire software businesses and other
Right.
things, they don't want to do the work.
Right.
They want to come in. They want to
There'll be
buy.
consolidation.
They want to buy your brand, and so
Yep.
I think you'll see an interesting change in the dynamic. I also have a theory that if he doesn't get impeached before the next election, that Trump is going to lift this veil in an effort to.
That is my theory.
I really
There's a
think
lot
I
of
he
truly
will.
rumors
believe
out there
that's like
that's
his-
yeah.
Yeah, I think
Just
that'll be his
nail-
play. Well,
yeah.
for a couple things is one,
Absolutely.
if anything, just an ego thing, because then you have kind of etched your name as the person that did that.
Right.
And then also, I just, which I'm curious to see how that would go over with the people that voted for him last time. So,
Yeah, a lot of them
Who
are
knows?
coming
Turn
around
into
on
a
it
really
too,
good idea
though,
all of a
so.
sudden.
well, I mean,
yeah,
in the end,
and
I mean, some of
education.
it's just economics, and so my buddy Josh lives in Colorado, and like, I mean, dude, it's flourishing there. The schools are doing great and whatever, and that's what blows me away with Kansas. It's like this is a fucking agriculture state, man. Like,
Right.
let people grow profitable crops.
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
Corn is not profitable, dude.
the thing about
and it's
Kansas,
hard to grow.
And the thing about Kansas too is that they don't need to be growing a whole bunch of CBD flower. They need to be growing the industrial hemp that can be
Yeah.
used for hempcrete, textiles, all the million different products that you can make with the industrial hemp that isn't necessarily consumable by humans,
And
but
don't have a terrible ecological impact.
yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
Part of the problem with that, though, and I am obviously fully on board with all of that, but the market for hemp rope and hemp textiles and hempcrete is still so very small. Like those need
well, it's
to be
because it's
built
not
up.
easy to get the supplies.
Yeah,
It's
Right.
well,
not
and,
cheap.
and they're too expensive. The products out there, the hemp paper and all that, it's too expensive right now for the normal consumer to go out there and buy. But if we start growing a whole bunch of it, then we can stop cutting down the rainforest too, and use those products. And so yeah, there's got to be a paradigm shift that happens there too, because as far as Kansas goes, we talk about, where we get our hemp from comes from Colorado because we know that's where we're getting the best quality. There's, as far as the cannabinoid reports and everything like that, it's not proven that you can even grow that successfully here in Kansas. There's farmers that are doing it right now, but there's a lot of them that are not having good success with this first round too.
Yeah, and a lot of their
so.
crops are popping hot. I mean, so they're over that
That was the term
0.3%.
James DeWitt used. That when it's hot, you're over the legal limit on your hemp.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you
Okay,
just have
so
to burn it.
so
Yep.
because I want to really capitalize on a four-player option here, we need to play mixtape.
All right.
Mixtapethegame.com. Matt, I believe you tried the
Digital version.
yeah
Yeah, we
Yeah.
were playing it in Cebu.
getting through the final improvements on that.
I even played the CeeLo Green song and Limp Bizkit.
We're gonna block those.
Yeah.
As one of the owners of the company.
I think I won both times.
Have you guys played mixtape before?
I've just listened to it on your guys' show.
Thank you for listening. So I pulled a card out of the mixtape deck. By the way, mixtapethegame.com, app coming soon. I'm gonna read a scenario. It's only 3 words today,
Oh.
and we're all gonna name a song, and then we will vote for who wins. You cannot vote for yourself. Defining collegiate song. I'm gonna answer. I'm gonna use a previous answer that I didn't win on, but I should have, and I'm also going to use this. Me so horny.
Let's see.
I
Well,
feel like I
song.
deserve to use that again. How did I not win that right round anyway? So yeah,
That's a good one.
I'm gonna say We Are the Champions because
Mm.
when I was in college, one of the years I was there, we were champions in baseball, football, and basketball.
who are
together.
we?
K-State.
Oh,
Wildcats.
you lost
Yeah.
my vote.
Yeah.
Lost my vote. Either one of you are getting my vote because I can't vote for K-State being a champion.
Oh man.
By the way, I was born in Manhattan, Kansas, and like the same day I was born, left, and I haven't gone back. Rock chalk.
I keep thinking of the football games and the band, and there's got to be some song there.
Dude, you went to DeVry.
I know. Well, I know, but
They
we're
don't
talking
have a
about-
football team at
No.
DeVry.
So the only song I can think of at the moment is "The Flight of the Bumblebee."
Oh.
So Heather's
Okay.
going to get my vote
Oh, no.
regardless of her answer.
I was gonna say No Sleep Till Brooklyn because when I was in college, I liked to party a lot.
I like it. Vote for Heather.
All right, Heather wins.
Heather
Did you-
wins. Yeah.
Dang.
She gets my vote.
Do you want to fire the money gun?
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, she looked at me as if that was the stupidest
Yeah.
question that
Who
anyone
do I get to
has.
fire it at?
Well, that's up to you.
Oh.
I find that people sitting in that seat often like to shoot Matt with the money gun. Matt, you really have been sprayed with ones way too many times.
Yeah, that money's dirty.
You can do whatever you want, but here we go. So Heather's going to fire the money gun.
Oh. It's stuck.
Okay, first off, you deserved that a little bit. She got a little carried away.
Excited.
She was waving the money gun up and down. We're going to post this on
no.
everything. On
Okay.
everything.
On TikTok?
Yeah.
Okay, here we go.
Here you go.
Okay, thanks.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Anyway. Good Lord, how much money is in that thing?
I got it.
It keeps going.
If you would like to see Heather celebrating her victory, as an expectant mother, you might not want to touch that money.
Oh.
I heard there might be some glitter on it or something. Like
No.
that.
No,
The baby
never.
comes out a little weird.
That was a rumor.
It's a little oily.
Oh, God. So before we do our Founders Freestyle on the way out, make sure you go to kchempco.com if you want to watch Heather abusing her privileges as the holder of the money gun. We'll post that on @Startup Hustle Podcast. We're also going to post it on TikTok because we're trying to figure out what the fuck that even is. I think we'll get it figured out. Check out the Startup Hustle YouTube channel when you get a chance. And by the way, Matt and I also own, operate, or associate with companies like Stackify.com and Gigabook.com. So we like to end our episodes by doing a quick little roundtable, and so we'll start with Kyle. Well, actually, we'll start with Heather because we'll go ladies first, and we'll work our way back and go back over to Watson. But the Founders Freestyle kind of exists because with our conversational format, we sometimes leave things unresolved. We give you a chance to do that. Resolve anything from the episode. Say anything you want. You can really do whatever you want because it's a freestyle. So ladies first and winners first. So, yeah, have at it.
Well, thank you for having us, for
Thanks for
starters. It's really exciting being a woman, especially in the cannabis industry. I'm excited to be able to do this with my husband as well. You know, people ask us all the time, like, how do you guys make it through the day without killing each other? And there are days where both of us have to just sit across the table from each other. But it's been awesome, and I'm just blessed to be able to do it and excited to see where the whole industry is.
Yeah. Thank you guys for having us on. And, kchempco.com. Feel free to grab some products out there. You know, like we said, everything's organic, and we stand behind the products that we make. We also, for anyone out there that's interested in wholesale and distribution, feel free to get a hold of us.
Mr. Watson. That's the sound of the money.
Yeah.
Dude, you're a baller on a budget, bro, because that's like what, like $23? And
Maybe.
is that how you're freestyling?
Yeah, this is my freestyle day.
Your freestyle
Yeah.
is the sound of money.
Yeah.
By the way, you know what?
That's how I roll.
I went from making fun of you to totally respecting
That's how
you.
I roll, man.
Yeah. Yeah. So, well, once again, hey, thanks for coming in. Interesting topic. I appreciate you guys taking the time out of your busy schedule to help us discuss what I think is one of the, I don't have any math to support this, but one of the more interesting and faster growing elements of startups. And
Absolutely.
I'm a big supporter of things, and I love the fact that you want to do it right and not just do it. I think that in the end, I think that might be a struggle in the beginning, and I think if you
Absolutely.
stay true to that, it'll end up being a win. So, yeah, looking forward to learning more about how your company grows. Hope you'll come back. I think we might have to do we'll have a quote hemp party.
Yeah.
There we go.
I won't be pregnant then.
But yeah, there you go.
Christ's sake.
There you go. She's well, I just
Counting down days over here.
well, we're being assumptive here.
Yes.
But with that, like I said, I wish you guys all the best of luck, and I'm going to get back to trying to figure out how to cure my glaucoma.
There we go.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
guys.
See you next time.